live here.
The electoral process in Nigeria is tainted by money politics, says the Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center. And more Nigerians leave in fear as kidnap for ransom worsens. Is there an end in sight? Well, this is Plus Politics, and I am Mary Anacon. Money politics has tainted Nigeria's electoral processes. The Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center has stated this. Executive Director CISLAC Awal Rafsanjani said this, stating that if left unchecked, it will jeopardize the democratization process and in turn prevent electorates from reaping the dividends of democracy. It was stated that this was a problematic situation because the electoral process in itself is often compromised, resulting in elections not being free and fair. He urged Nigerians to put a stop to the ugly practice. Well, joining us to discuss this, to break it down, is Andy Akpotive. He's a social reformer, and Raymond Kanebe. He is a legal practitioner, and he is a sustainability development advocate. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for having us.
Great. I'm going to start with you, Andy, because you obviously are a change advocate. You're always asking for things to be done differently. Now, without going into the history of money politics, we know that this has been the order of the day for a long time. But the question is, why are we still practicing this in the 21st century when the whole world is ahead of us and asking for accountability? How do you get good governance? We're also asking as a group of people for good governance. Let's not forget October 2020 of 2020, when Nigerian young people streamed into the streets of the country asking for an end to a rogue police arm, also asked for good governance, and we all know how that ended. So how do we ask for good governance if we are still engaging in money politics?
So Marianne, quickly, let me say this. Politics is money. And without money, you cannot do politics. Politics is money everywhere in the world. In the UK, in America, politics is money. But you see, what's different is that these monies that are spent in those other crimes are spent in line with the status. They are spent in line with the law. They are not just spent arbitrarily. They are not just collected or given out of context, if you permit my use of the word. But you see, in Nigeria, monies are spent because of the fact, monies are spent the way they are spent because of the fact that we have weak institutions. For instance, INEC has the responsibility to also police the money trail, police how much is spent on campaigns. INEC has responsibility to take people to court that have committed one electoral infraction or the other. INEC election in Nigeria. think that this same INEC would be able to discharge these responsibilities exactly as we want? And don't forget, life is all about actions and consequences. People will do certain things that they know that they would do, and they can get away with it. They can get away with blue murder in Nigeria because of the fact that we understand that the institutions are weak and the institutions will not be able to check it. So if we come here right now, if we are here discussing money politics in Nigeria, I want to say to you, for the first reason that our institutions are weak, we would not be able to attend to it. Then secondly, there is poverty that is pervasive all over the land, from the north to the south to the east and the west. Nigerians are poor. They are poor, they are starving, and they are hungry. And do not forget.
And Andy, that poverty you're talking about was necessitated by bad governance. And could we have played a role in the poverty that you're referring to, that we're going through today?
Yes, Marianne, you are absolutely correct.
So is that really, is it also a basis, should that be an excuse of sorts for vote buying or money politics and the way the system is?
The politicians understand that for them to perpetuate themselves in politics and in governance, they have got to deprive the people of what are supposed to be the bare necessities, so that every now and again that they dangle some carrots in front of them, the people, without thinking and rationalizing, would therefore vote them. This is exactly what is happening in the country. This is the narrative that has become indoctrinated in Nigeria. Politicians know that the woman who is in the village, who has been unable to feed his family, if you threw something of, say, 5,000 that they can use to feed their families for the next 1 month, they would, without consideration, without checking the necessities, all of the things that you are supposed to got as a politician before you ascend into any office, without considering those things, because of hunger, they would jump at it. And the politicians have weaponized hunger and poverty, because they know that if the people are allowed to be, quote and unquote, emancipated, the people are allowed to enjoy the bare necessities like you see everywhere else in the world, that the people will start questioning them. The people will start rationalizing things. The people will start thinking through protocols and processes and saying that we cannot have this man be the next president of this country because of his antecedents. We cannot have this man be the next governor of this state because of his antecedents. Today, as I speak with you, Marianne, we would be deceiving ourselves to think that we can address money politics with the way politicians have weaponized politics, weaponized poverty.
Raymond, just speak up from where he stopped. I'll just like to go back to what Musa Rafsanjani said. He said, throughout the world, democracy is judged as the best form of government, but it is being constantly assaulted in Nigeria due to the phenomenon of money politics and vote buying. He also says that money seems to have taken the center stage in our political process, and that of many other countries, including that of Nigeria, to the extent that the word money politics has crept into the country's political vocabulary. We keep making, we listen to radio stations, we hear analysts like yourself and Andy waxing lyrical and speaking about these same things and saying, if you sell your votes, the next 4 years, you're going to be grinding your teeth. And we still go ahead and do it. And half the time, the people you see doing these things are not necessarily people who have no idea about how the political process works. So really, are we not the problem of ourselves? If we, in one breath, are asking for a change in government, or we're asking for our government to be more accountable to us, and then in the other breath, we're taking money and saying, hunger no go kill me. Are we ready to have that conversation?
Yes, I get you. Thank you. That's actually the point. There is a demand and a supply side to the whole monetization of the political process. It has a demand and a supply side. On the supply side, you have the politicians, you have the political parties, and the political gladiators. On the demand side, you have the electorate, the masses, Nigerians who are in the corners of this country. You understand? So both sides are involved in this, what they have called vote trading. So the thing is this. as they say in the Lord's Prayer, give us this day our daily bread. The average Nigerian, his idea of dividends of governance is not the way it ought to be. The dividends of governance in terms of good roads, he pays his tax, he has lights, affordable healthcare, and all of that. It doesn't operate that way. For him, the idea of dividends of democracy, it's what he can get in the moment, spontaneously.
Whatever made the average Nigerian begin to think that way?
Yeah, because disillusionment. Over time, we have seen that politicians come to the campaign stalls, they say all kind of things, they are voted into office, then those campaign promises don't translate into actions. So the electorate, if you notice, in the last 3 or 2 cycles of elections, Nigerians refuse to participate in the electoral process. They refuse to come out and vote. And they'll tell you that, what am I going to vote? My vote will not count. You understand? So in order to get people to come out and vote, they have to incentivize that process by handing out what they call stomach infrastructure, as was popularized by one politician. So you have to use that to incentivize voters, and they get whatever they can get. They cast their ballot, and then they wait for the next round of election. So it's a catch-22 situation, and as Mr. Andy pointed out, I don't know when it's going to end, because even in the so-called advanced democracies, you see the same thing happening. During the last election in America, there were aspects of vote buying. People on election day, people are sharing burgers, handing out all manner of things just to get their supporters to vote for them. So it's just, I think it's an element of the political process, whatever, in any part of the world.
Andy, let's talk about the political parties and the role that they play in this. I know that Serap, which is one of the people in the forefront of trying to fight for the soul of Nigeria's democracy, has taken the big political parties in this country to court, because over and over for years, if I'm not mistaken, since 2015, have been asking political parties to make public their accounts and all their spendings before elections, and they've still not been able to comply. That case is still in court as we speak. But then political parties are somewhat responsible to a constitution of sorts. INEC also has an oversight function. But every time this issue comes up, INEC will say that, they're not law enforcement per se. If we cannot control political parties and how much money is that they're spending, where there is even a cap in the constitution, how do we even control those who have to buy votes at the polling units?
So you need structure to be able to do all of this. Marianne, how can you follow the trail of the money spent by politicians in Nigeria? You see, all these things we are trying to do with BVN and all of these things, how can you follow the trail? How much are spent in printing my posters? How much are spent in... How can you really follow when there is no system in Nigeria? Marianne, there is no system that is working in Nigeria. Even the banking system has been infiltrated. Did you know yet the CBN governor recently blaming a certain online shop for the fact that Naira is losing value against the dollar? It tells you that indeed something is fundamentally wrong with our people. We are trying to put the cart in front of the horse. We must build systems first. Marianne, let me just ask you this, and a lot of people listening. What do they call structure in Nigeria? Structure is equal to money and the amount of violence you can deploy. QED. Nothing more than that. Oh, Wike has got so much structure in Rivers State. Money and violence he can deploy. Oh, Bola Tinubu has got so much structure in Lagos State. Money and the violence he can deploy. Structure in Nigerian political parlance is equal to the amount of monies you have got, your war chest, and the amount of violence you can deploy. And guess what happens? If money is so central to winning election, do you think that they would even allow you create a structure that can check it? They won't, because they want to consistently perpetuate themselves there. The people have got to take their destinies in their hands. The people have got to devise a methodology, a system at addressing this nonsense in our society. The politicians are not ready to let go of the war chest. They are not ready to let go of the booties. They are not ready to let go of the monies that they are enjoying from this nonsense that we are in this country. So you and I, Marianne, we need to start conscientizing the people that if we wait for the National Assembly to plug the holes...
We've been having these conversations over and over again. It's not just me. We have had conversations like this. Journalists on the radio, where there's so much conversations. There's conversations online. So it makes me really ask again, is it falling on deaf ears, or we just are comfortable in the mediocre or the mediocrity that we find ourselves in, for the want of a better word?
Unfortunately, it is, Marianne. The people who are to execute are the executives. The executives are largely elected and selected. The people who are to legislate are the legislators. They are largely elected. But guess what? They have said to us through the very office of the Senate, the very person and the office of the Senate President and the chairman of the National Assembly, that whatsoever the president gives to him is going to acknowledge, is going to pass it. He will not even veto it. It tells you that there is some collaboration between the executive and the legislature to keep Nigeria in this hole. And I make bold to say this. There's some collaboration between them. Otherwise, people should have been thinking about concrete steps. For instance, so that it doesn't sound like Andy is just criticizing. Why do you not want to unbundle INEC? How can you give INEC, one commission, that responsibility to police electoral infractions, to conduct elections, to pursue and to follow the trail of monies that are spent, together with some other very, very complex responsibilities that are given to them, and expect that INEC is going to perform and perform very wonderfully around these roles? The truth of the matter is that the Nigerian politicians, they want to keep us this low because they want to perpetuate themselves in office. When they are done, they then bring their sons or their children. When they are done, they then bring their girlfriends. When they are done, they want to perpetuate themselves in offices so that the average Nigerian is going to remain small. Marianne, do you know that an average Nigerian politician is not even thinking Nigeria? Let me break it down. His children go abroad to receive education. His wife and himself, they travel abroad to receive medicals. For instance, our Jagaban is in Lagos, is abroad receiving medical treatment. Their investments are abroad. They go abroad to do vacation. Everything about them is outside of this country. How then do you think they are going to want to fix your country? Nothing about them is about this country. The children are educated abroad. They buy clothes abroad. They go abroad to do shopping. They go abroad for medical tourism and everything. Okay. Do you think they're going to look at you and I here in Nigeria and want to better our laws? They won't, unless we are ready to take it by ourselves. Okay, the Bible says the kingdom of God suffered violence. And the violent
let me come to Raymond. I'll come back to you. Raymond, does it also have, could it be that it has something to do with how our political parties are structured? Because I didn't realize how difficult it is to explain the Nigerian political process to anyone outside Nigeria, as I did yesterday, because I was trying to explain to a friend of mine who lives in the UK, who's never been to Nigeria, who does not understand the political process. And he was lost. So how do you know the difference between party A and party B? And I said, well, they're flags and, you know. So could it also be that maybe the way our political parties are structured with clear-cut ideologies, maybe this is why the whole political process in itself is the way it is?
Well, if it has to do with the issue of the bastardization of campaign finance and funding, I don't see how it's turns on the lack of ideology in our political parties, because...
But why do our political parties not have clear-cut ideology?
I think there's someone says that at the level of our politics, that we don't have the luxury to be breaking heads over ideology A or ideology B. At this level, the average Nigerian wants just the basic things of life. So any political party that can deliver good roads, healthcare, education, just those basic necessities, it suffices. We don't even have the technical abilities, the technological wherewithal to engage in such kind of upscale ideological politics that we see in the UK and America.
Are
and
you
other
saying that
developed.
we do not have what it takes to hold on to ideologies? If we say that we're Labour, we support Labour, or we say we're progressives, or we say we're liberals, you're saying that the average Nigerian does not have the capacity to comprehend that kind of ideology?
But you see, at the end of the day, the governance process is all about delivering dividends of governance to the people, right? So whatever ideology you want to actually and hang on to, it must translate into dividends of governance to the people you claim to govern. So I don't see it as a function of lack of ideology, as much as it is a lack of governance in the real sense of it.
Let's talk about those who want to break into these political parties, because it's become a boys' club of sorts, and you have to either have a godfather or belong to something to be brought to the table.
Yes.
And there are, whether we like it or not, men and women who are very intelligent, who have what it takes to run this country at whatever level, that are unable to break through. So how do those people get access into these political parties? Because 1 minute we're saying we want people to join political parties, be card-carrying members, but then there is a brick wall of sorts that you have to hammer through. So how do we break through, especially for young people? We have the not too young to run bill, but what does it do for us?
So the thing is this: in principle, it will appear that those the gerontocratic political class wants the younger people to participate in principle. But then when you look at it in the real sense of it, you see that there are structures, there are barriers, like what we're discussing now.
So it's a window dressing.
Yeah, so what we're discussing now, the limitation that has to do with to fund any political ambition, it's a whole lot of money. You can imagine in the proposed amendment to Electoral Act, the campaign to run for office of president, it has been jerked from 5 billion to 15 billion. If you want to run for office of governor...
Do you not think that that's deliberate by the big boys and the big boys club to keep certain people out because they want to continue? They are the ones who can afford that.
Yeah,
the average Nigerian...
in a way, it's part of it. But when you look at it in the real sense of it, if they should write 5 million naira there, we know that they spend way more than that in the real sense of it. So I think it's also a function of the National Assembly being realistic, knowing that we spend way more than this money to fund this particular office. So why should we continue to deceive ourselves? Why not just get the numbers up there and then try to enforce spending to the limit that has been pegged in the Electoral Act? So as I was saying, those structural limitations are barriers that will prevent young persons to actually aspire to those offices. But that notwithstanding, it's one thing to not have money to finance your elective or political ambition, but you have got to participate in the political process first. So young persons, as much as we want to enter into elective offices, we have to enter the political parties, register, become card-carrying members, participate, attend meetings, attend workshops. You understand? While you are doing that, you are building a network. Because even in other crimes, you have to raise funds to actually run for office. You have to raise funds. And the last American elections...
But you see, in that instance, you do not feel the pressure to be corrupt, to steal, because the monies that you're raising is the citizens that are coming together because they trust that you can deliver.
And they are properly managed. There are fund managers who generate these funds.
So put that side by side with what we have. There are lots of question marks around.
Of course there are, but like I said, it shouldn't be a reason for young persons not to just to walk away. We have got to participate, build those networks, so that when you want to run for an office, you can have people to walk up to who can help you generate funds, so that you can be able to give those who are already there a run for their money.
Well, this conversation cannot stop here. We will continue to have it because, you know, the election season is upon us. But I want to say thank you, Andy PlusTvAfrica and Raymond Kanebe, for being our guests. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll be talking about the kidnapping and banditry in the country. Of course, there's a report talking about how it's been increasing and how it's become a big business of sorts. Stay with us. Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@PlusTvAfrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
Is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria?
We're
welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Welcome to The Breakfast.
A breakfast where we unbundle top and big stories of the day.
Is vaccine the only way out of this pandemic?
No, definitely not.
Many Ghanaians just want a peaceful election and they are hoping there will be no rigging.
There is nothing bad in borrowing for infrastructure. The minister added that he was impressed.
Please come and see yourself what we are doing with the money we have borrowed.
It's very important. The way we brand ourselves is the way people will carry us.
It's just the driver of the two vehicles that were completely burned.
This one was here screaming.
What do you recommend the government do to support this sector?
Direct intervention, that's what every government all over the world has done.
We are not a parallel security structure. A multiple core is a complementary core.
What I will not encourage Christians to do is to carry dagger and follow anybody. No.
Join us on The Breakfast, 7 a.m., Monday to Friday.
Hello and welcome. It's Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime. Nimasa This Week is brought to you by the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency. Statutorily mandated to ensure that there is regulation and promotion of matters affecting our waters. NIMASA bears responsibility for search and rescue, shipping development, and ship registration.
Nimasa This Week, the voice of maritime, showing on this channel.
Cases of kidnapping and abductions in Nigeria appear to be getting worse, according to government reports documenting the only reported cases of about 937 people who were being kidnapped in Kaduna State alone. Now, in the first quarter of 2021, 949 persons were kidnapped, again, as reported by the government. But it appears to be emerging as millions of naira are being paid by abductors to the abductors by the family of the victim. The South used the reports. They reported the highest number of kidnappings as militants in Bayelsa, Delta, and River State targeted all expatriates. Remember that. In the Southwest, 264 people were kidnapped between 2018 and May 2020, according to media reports. The case is obviously getting out of hand, and even family members of leaders and politicians are now being targeted. So the question is, what is the remedy? Well, joining us to discuss this is Dixon Osaje. He's a security expert. Dixon, it's so good to have you join us.
Thank you for having me, Miriam.
Yes, for a second there, we thought that, we had some, reprieve of sorts with the issues of kidnappings and, banditry. But it seems to become, a thriving business of sorts, and more of these kidnappings are happening. You and I have had conversations as to why government has not dealt with this situation. Recently, the National Assembly has reached out to Mr. President to ask him to change the nomenclature of these so-called bandits to terrorists because of their activities. And we're yet to hear from Mr. President on that particular matter. So I ask you as a security person, who's working within the country, who's seen all that's been happening in the country. What do you think the remedy is to deal with this situation?
Thank you very much. It's a worrisome situation, and I must confess that kidnapping is taking the light of the day. We, as a country, we did not, attack this. Let me just the kidnap market. Before now, the state of robbery has been flourishing in Nigeria, but at the arrest of Evans, the kidnapper, a lot of people brings more money, or to look from that period of time, the state of armed robbery reduced, and guys began to go into kidnapping because they got to know that Evans made a lot of billions. And that was one of the errors from the Nigerian police PRO. Sometimes when they get most of these armed robbers and these criminals, they will parade them in the public, they will ask these criminals to demonstrate how they carry out their criminal activities. That is an erroneous process by the police system. So that was where kidnap took the boom. The kidnap market took the boom because the risk implication in kidnapping, Mary Ann, is very low compared to the risk implication in robbery. So going back to what is happening in the northwest and the northeast, most of these guys have seen that they can no longer be working in the desert. If I can pick somebody up and make about 200 or 300 million or 20 million, that can fetch me more than 100 cattle. So the cattle market is no longer interesting to me. That is the problem we have here in Nigeria. So if you want to ask me, why has the president not proscribed, or the government not proscribed the bandits as terrorist group? Mary Ann, terrorism has no universal acceptable definition. Are you with me? The person you call terrorist today could see himself as a freedom fighter. So the reason why the government has not named them terrorists, I don't know, but naming them terrorists is not the way forward. Boko Haram has been named terrorists many years ago. See, today, they are still messing up the name of Nigeria in the international community.
But I'm thinking, because a lot of people the reason why most people are pushing for the nomenclature change is maybe that the government would be able to deal with it as it is, as opposed to saying, oh, killer herdsmen or known gunmen. And, we have so many names out there. Maybe it could be the reason why the government is not pushing as hard as it should. Maybe it could also be the reason why there's some politicization of, handling this issue in the first instance. This is my thoughts. I'm just wondering. But aside from the name change, governors like the governor of Benue State has been very vocal as to, these issues of kidnappings and banditry. I mean, we even saw these people go into the NDA. We have seen them capture leaders of thoughts. We've seen family members of politicians being taken, and some of them end up dead. So again, what needs to happen? Because I just reeled out numbers of people who've been kidnapped over the years. What needs to happen for government's hand to be forced to deal with this issue head on? Now, we're not making light of the fact that we have soldiers who are working night and day to keep our borders safe. But what more do we need to happen for something to happen? Because you see, as we speak, yesterday we were mulling over the statement of the AGF on calling on a state of emergency of sorts, and they're contemplating it for Anambra. Why? There's an election coming up in November. Why can't we do that in the south, in the northwest, and in the northeast?
Mary Ann, please, the comment from the AGF is sickening. Sometimes I wonder if it's a trained lawyer, because you cannot just come on air and say you want to prescribe, you want to set up a state of emergency in the southeast. What is the threat level in the southeast? What is the risk implication in the southeast? We have Boko Haram that has placed us in the third most affected terrorist state in a nation in the world. We've not seen them, setting a state of emergency in the northeast. They are still running their government there without state of emergency. If there's any state that needs a state of emergency, I will advise the government to go for Kaduna State, Zamfara State, Katsina State, Borno State, Yobe State. And these states are most of the states that are hit by terrorism. Now, let's come back to terrorism studies. In terrorism, these guys, what makes them to flourish is publicity. And first of all, let me tell you the truth, Mary Ann, because the best thing you can do for your country is to tell your country the truth. The reason why we arrive at this stage is the failure of our leaders. They've made the labor of our heroes past to be in vain, because there's a line in the national anthem that says the labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. But since 1999, our leaders from 1999 have worked so hard to ensure that the labors of our heroes past is really in vain, because they've really messed up this great nation. Corruption, embezzlement, lack of unemployment, religious brutality, police brutality, nepotism brutality, ethnocentric brutality. Leadership failure has given birth to the spirit of insecurity here in Nigeria, until our leaders go back to the drawing board and are ready to lead us aright and let us know that, hey guys, we are ready to lead you guys. Because if you abort the social contract, this is what you get. We've suffered so much from the breach of social contract. Our leaders has breached that social contract. What does the social contract entails? The leaders are supposed to give us good governance. They're supposed to give us education. They're supposed to give our youth jobs. They're supposed to give us good roads, electricity. And we're not having all these things. And they want the Nigerian people to be obedient, to be law-abiding. It doesn't work anywhere. Social contract must be respected. If peradventure we've been upholding the social contract between the confines of Nigeria, the state of insecurity won't have risen to this state. Mary Ann, 2 years ago, some hoodlums went to the National Assembly. They cut away the mace of the National Assembly. Nothing happened till today. That tells you that our leaders are not ready to defend this great nation. So for us to go back to the drawing board and ensure that we have a good nation, our leaders must begin to think aright and ensure that they lead us with all honesty.
Now, of course, the elections are getting close. We might just see a bit more seriousness on the part of our leaders. I was speaking to a lawyer some days ago, and he sounded more like the government knows what to do, but they choose when to do it. Is this not a disservice to the soldiers who have died in the forefront of fighting this, insurgents and the terrorists that, are pervading our society every day? Is this not a disservice to the Nigerians who the politicians swore to protect and serve? Is this not a disservice to the mothers whose children have been taken away? And let's not forget, most of these children are still in custody, have become wives of these terrorists. These same terrorists have also come back with placards saying that we should forgive them. And the government, including the army, is contemplating to reintegrate them into society. What does this say, generally, about this country?
What this is trying to let us know about Nigeria is that we are not Nigeria is not serious. We are not serious. Our leaders must be held accountable. If anything goes wrong in Nigeria, I personally, Dixon Osaje, I am disappointed at our leaders. They fail to understand that as leaders, they're supposed to be role model. Maybe, like you rightly said in your questioning, frankly speaking, it is a total disservice to our heroes past. It's a total disservice to our soldiers. It's a total disservice to our military, our police, our security agents that are putting their life on the line to uphold the sovereignty of Nigeria. Our soldiers are dying every day, Mary Ann. Our police are dying every day. And our leaders, our politicians are busy embezzling our funds. They are busy engaging our youth to go and, fight against themselves. And 2023 is around the corner. Nigerian youth, listen very carefully. You saw what happened about a politician, Femi Fani-Kayode, having, blattered our president, blattered some other people. He has decamped to the APC. I'm not against his decampment, but what I'm trying to say is that these politicians, they are all one. Let us also come as one. Let's not kill ourselves for any politicians. Let's not kill ourselves for any leaders. Let us stand in unity to ensure that we move Nigeria forward, because truly, Mary Ann, all what is happening is a total disservice to the sovereignty of Nigeria. And our leaders, they know what to do. They know what to do very right. What is happening to the technological application to our military? We are still operating a quack military system in which our soldiers are falling ambush, getting ambushed by this insurgent every day, dying in numbers. Our soldiers are training so hard and they are dying cheap. As a soldier, you're supposed to train hard and die hard. But in this 21st century, Nigerian soldiers are training so hard, and regrettably, they are dying so cheap because our leaders have failed to uphold the territorial integrity of this great nation. They have refused to ensure that they are supposed to serve this nation with all honesty and truthfulness. If anything happened to this great nation, we must hold our leaders responsible. The reason why we have arrived at this stage is the long time failure of leadership. If, for example, we have good leaders in this great nation, I don't think this state of insecurity would have risen. We have our leaders traveling from their various states to London, United Kingdom, United States to go and carry out a medical checkup. Is it not a shame that you are going to another country to go and enjoy good governance? That is a total shame to you. If you have good leaders, you're supposed to remain in your state, put in infrastructure in place. If you're having headache or malaria, go to your state hospital and get yourself treated. But when you leave your state to go to another country to go and enjoy the good governance of that country, you are a total failure to your state. So for me, our leaders must purge themselves from reality. They must come back to the drawing board and ensure that Nigeria at 61, the labor of our heroes past must not be in vain.
Sajo is a security expert. Thank you very much for speaking with us. We're hoping that going forward, the situation will change for the better. Thank you.
I pray so. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all for staying with us. We hope you enjoyed the program. Before we leave you, I want to say, don't forget you can watch a playback of this show on our YouTube channel. Yes, at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. Go follow us and subscribe. We're also on Instagram and on Facebook. I am Mary Anacon. I'll see you next week, Monday. We'll leave you with a recap of what we had been speaking about this week. We hear people say that the government doesn't care. These bodies are piling up and they become numbers. But what do you think the challenge is? Why do you think that disconnect is there between the presidency and what Nigerians are saying or they're feeling?
I think that among other things, there seems to be an absence of a strategy for engaging Nigerian people. This president, has his own style. And I think that his health has not helped matters, and I think we need to take cognizance of that. But you could easily have bridged that gap by empowering other institutions and organs of communication. And what I see, unfortunately, and for me this is one of the greatest tragedies, that what I see is almost constantly, the president is almost like fighting, with citizens. And the speech is full of warnings and so on and so forth.
Every time there are issues within the political parties, you're going to find as many as 3-4 different conflicting judgments of the court that comes out in record time. But when it is about human rights, you find the same judiciary slow walking, and then the case is staying 2 years in court and the person is not seeing any judge. There are over 300 Nigerians in Kirikiri, for instance, arrested since the immediate aftermath of NSAS. None of them has been taken before any judge to be tried. This is the 12th month. 12th month. And there is a judiciary. So exactly how independent or effective is that judiciary?
You look at our media organizations on the African continent and indeed in Nigeria, and you look at the resources that we have to do investigative journalism. I mean, the whole effort was put together by International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, ICIJ. The media in Nigeria really is struggling as far as funds are concerned, and investigative journalism is not cheap. I mean, I get people calling into my radio program to give me information, and then the next thing they say, Mary, and you're aware of this because we hosted a morning radio program for many years together, and they would say, oh, you're an investigative journalist, go and investigate. And then I'll say, hey, excuse me, hold on. You think it's free to investigate? You think I can just stand up and go? People go to war zones and they have how many journalists have life insurance? How many journalists are working in organizations where their basic Medicare, their HMO is even guaranteed, taken care of? So it is not cheap. We're not doing enough, but Nigerian journalists are doing the best they can.
Fine and well, you're telling me that this is an agitation, but I'm trying to understand the part of the agitation where you kill your brother, you destroy your own businesses, you destroy buildings and facilities that are in your communities to help your people. I'm trying to understand how these types of agitation would help your cause.
Yeah, what is happening in that killing, in any, just like when they had NSAS, so criminals cashed in on that and hijacked NSAS and gave it a criminal coloration. The same thing with the agitation that is going on, creating a siege environment, and some people went to bring in some other people from outside the southeast that are perfecting the killing.
Who are these people who went to bring other people outside the southeast?
By what we had from the investigation going on, the people who are the assassins are not Igbos. They are not Igbo people. People are hired from outside the southeast to settle some scores, sometimes business, sometimes politics. So, but the truth of the matter is that the agitation has created a siege environment in the southeast.
It is the responsibility of the president to impose, not the attorney general. So the attorney general to now assume the duties of the president shows something is certainly wrong. Yeah, I do not know whether he's the proper and fit person to hold that office. And by the way, the Attorney General is a member of the Anguba Campaign Council. That is very unusual. The duty, the office of the Attorney General is a sacred trust. It's one of the few public offices created directly by the Constitution and named by the Constitution and written in the Constitution. You cannot dabble into local politics, let alone being a member of the gubernatorial council of any state.
There has to be a decision point. The way your baby's presenting, we have to rush you in. And my partner at the time was like, "You going to cut her? Are you going to cut her? Is it going to leave a scar?" And I said, "Am I a belly dancer? What is the problem here?"
No, I'm vulnerable about the future of the children, the future of mine and the future of the generation of my children.
I want to have nude pictures taken.
Of you?
Yes,
Yeah,
but
we
without
had that
showing my private parts. I want to put it in my front room. And they said, "You can't do that. People will be embarrassed when they came into your house." I said, "Well, it's my body and it's my front room."
All the things that we do, what is the purpose of it?
I just realized that I was more trusting before I was 6.
So many women, they just feel like I have to cook for my husband, I have to breastfeed my children, I have to pick them from school.
Because society expects
Then you
them
go
to.
home and you cry and you stop your career, you can't do anything, then you blame everybody. You took that choice.
For me, I wanted to change that culture. I didn't believe that until you see a white man or you see a foreigner in the kitchen before you can believe that, good food is going to come out of that kitchen.
You can leverage on each other's spaces and, sell. We believe in Nigeria, right? We believe that Nigeria can get better. We, the youth, are the ones that can make it better.
And my products are proudly made in Nigeria.
Made in Niger, showing every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. and repeats on Saturday at 8:30 a.m.
According to Plato,